Hello, this is the cardiovascular system, chapter 11 of Marriott and Keller. And this is only for the students of the BS Pharmacy program of San Pedro College for the academic year 2025 to 2026. Please do not reproduce or sell this material. Learning objectives for this presentation includes the following: to describe the anatomy of the heart, including its location, coverings, chambers, valves, and major vessels. Explain coronary circulation and cardiac conduction. Differentiate the phases of the cardiac cycle and associated heart sounds. Explain cardiac muscle action potentials and cardiac output regulation. Distinguish the microscopic and gross anatomy of blood vessels. Apply principles of blood pressure measurement in clinical context. Relate cardiovascular changes to aging and common homeostatic imbalances. Now, as you know, in the first chapter of the textbook, we discussed the cardiovascular system's role in circulating the blood through the rest of the body. The cardiovascular system is a closed system of the heart and blood vessels, wherein the heart serves as the pump, and the blood vessels are tube-like structures that deliver blood to the rest of the body. So aside from with the blood or through the blood, the cardiovascular system delivers oxygen, nutrients, cell wastes, and even hormones. So let's start with the heart. The heart, as you know, has a size of the human fist. So as you close your hand, that is the size of your heart. It less weigh it weighs less than a pound, and it is located in the thoracic cavity between the lungs in the inferior mediastinum. As for the apex of the heart, it is directed towards the left hip and rests on the diaphragm, whereas the base points toward the right shoulder. This diagram shows you how the heart is positioned in the inferior mediastinum. With here, you have the apex of the heart pointing to your lower left hip, and this is the base of the heart pointing to your right shoulder. This shows you the heart's relationship to the bony thorax. In here, you can find the point of maximal intensity or PMI, where you can hear or auscultate the heart best. So, dito yung pinakamalakas na marinig mo yung heart through the stethoscope. It is located in the first intercostal space at the line of the mid-clavicle. In the cross-section of the thorax, you can see here the structures surrounding the heart. So, the heart on its lateral are the lungs, and posterior to the heart are the great vessels and the esophagus as well. The heart is surrounded by layers of coverings, as you have seen in the cadaver. So the water balloon, as we call it, or the pleura that surrounds the heart is the pericardium. Same as the other pleura in the body, such as in the abdomen and in the lungs, the pericardium has two layers, the parietal and the visceral layers or pericardium. The parietal pericardium is the outer layer. The visceral pericardium is the inner layer. The visceral pericardium is right next to the heart, so it is also known as the epicardium. Between these two layers, the parietal and the visceral layers, or inside the pericardium, is the pericardial cavity, which is filled with serous fluids. You can see here the layers of the heart, with here the parietal layer of the pericardium and the visceral layer of the pericardium, which is right next to the heart wall. So inside or in between parietal and the visceral layers of the pericardium, or inside the pericardial layers, are the or is the pericardial cavity filled with serous fluid. This fluid is important so that as the heart moves or contracts and relaxes, there is sliding of the heart inside the thorax and hindi siya magka-friction with the other organs inside the thorax. Same as the other pleura in the other cavities of the body. The walls of the heart naman is divided into these layers. The outermost or the most superficial is the epicardium, which is right next to the visceral pericardium. The myocardium, which is the middle layer, which is mostly made up of cardiac muscles. The endocardium, which is the inner layer or the endothelium. So the blood that enters and exits the heart is in contact with the endocardium kasi ito yung nasa pinakaloob. Okay? So you can see here the layers of the heart wall, epicardium, myocardium. Myocardium is the thickest because it is made up of muscles, cardiac muscles, and the endocardium. So the right next to the endocardium is the insides na of the heart where blood passes through. So this is the layer which is in direct contact with the blood. The heart can be divided into four chambers, which are spaces through that directs the blood to where they are supposed to be. The two upper chambers are the atria, and the two lower chambers are the ventricles. So you have the left and right atria, and you have the left and right ventricles. The atria are the receiving chambers. So these are the chambers that receive blood from the outside of the heart. They assist with the filling with the ventricles. So after receiving the blood in the atria, ang gawin naman ni atria is ibigay yung blood to the ventricles, which are on the which are the lower chambers. Okay, so with the atria, they have a very low blood pressure, so that it sucks the blood from the rest of the body. Uh, uh, Afterwards, they deliver the blood to the ventricles, which will then contract to propel the blood to the rest of the body. Okay, so you can see here the four chambers of the heart. So these two here, one, two, are the atria. So you have the left atrium and the right atrium. Tapos sa ventricles naman, you have the left ventricle, then the right ventricle. Si left and right atria, atrium ang singular, atria ang plural, they will receive blood from the outside of the heart. Tapos, ibibigay nila sa ventricles. Tapos, si ventricles naman, makita niyo yung thick walls of the ventricles. As they contract, they push the blood to the outside of the heart. This cross-section of the heart, with this cross-section, you can see the difference in the walls of the left and right ventricles. The left ventricle has a thicker wall, or specifically has a thicker myocardium than the right ventricle because of the higher pressure inside this chamber. These walls help you separate the four chambers. So you have the interatrial septum, which is a wall that separates the left and right atria. Then you have the interventricular septum, in which divides the ventricles into left and right ventricles. So ito yung mga septa that are involved when yung sinasabi natin na ang babies may butas sa heart. Kasi kung may butas to na septum, hindi mo ma-separate si left and right ventricles or si left and right atria, which you're supposed to have a division in between those chambers. Okay. So you can see here, ang makita dito is yung interventricular septum. Behind this is the interatrial septum. So kailangan yung septum na to kasi if may butas dito, yung blood pwedeng mag-shortcut to the next chamber na dapat naman hindi. So you can think of the heart as a double pump, meaning they have two systems of um, blood vessels that they have to pump for. So the right side of the heart, so you have the right atrium and the right ventricle, supply blood to the pulmonary circuit. Then the left side of the heart, including the left atrium and the left ventricle, supply the systemic circuit. You also have arteries that carry, or arteries are the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart, and you have the veins that carry blood toward the heart. Now I just mentioned the pulmonary circulation. The right atrium and the right ventricle supplies the pulmonary circulation. So this in here, blood flows from the right side of the heart to the lungs and back to the left side of the heart. The blood that is pumped out of the right side of the heart is unoxygenated, meaning kulang ng oxygen or oxygen poor. Then after meeting with the lungs, where gas exchange takes place, as blood exits the lungs, the blood now becomes oxygenated. In the systemic circulation naman, that is supplied by the left side of the heart, in which as blood reaches the tissues in our body, carbon dioxide is exchanged with oxygen. Hence, ang blood na babalik from the systemic circulation to the heart is now unoxygenated or oxygen poor. Then babalik na naman siya sa right side ng heart. So this diagram shows you the summary of what I have just told you. So the left side of the heart, you have the right atrium and the right ventricle delivers blood through the pulmonary arteries, which is this blood vessel that will send the blood to the lungs. Kaya ang tawag is pulmonary kasi it is connected to the lungs. Tapos arteries because this is a blood vessel that delivers blood away from the heart. Okay? So, pulmonary arteries deliver oxygen poor. Kaya dito sa diagram, naka-color blue. Ito. Oxygen poor kasi pagdating dito sa lungs, gas exchange takes place such that carbon dioxide exits the blood to go into the air sacs. Tapos ang oxygen naman sa air sacs papasok papunta sa blood. So, as blood exits the lungs, the blood is now oxygen rich. May oxygen na siya. Then it is being delivered by the pulmonary veins. Pulmonary kasi galing it has connection with the lungs. Then veins because this is a blood vessel that goes or delivers blood towards the heart. Okay? The first chamber that it will enter is the right atrium. Then the next chamber is the right ventricle. After the right ventricle, the blood exits the heart through the aorta, which is a type of artery. The aorta is the largest artery of the body. Then the aorta branches into arteries then arterioles, and the arterioles will deliver oxygenated blood to the rest of the body or to the other tissues of the body in the especially particularly in the capillaries of the body. Kasi yung capillaries naman, doon mag doon na naman ulit mag-gas exchange wherein carbon dioxide enters the blood and oxygen is sent from the blood to the tissues. Okay? So, blood that is pulled from the tissues of the body is now oxygen poor again. Oxygen poor kasi nakuhaan na siya ng oxygen. And babalik na siya dito sa left, sa right atrium. So the this is the circulation of the body. Please do memorize the blood vessels and the chambers involved in or that blood has to pass through in the pulmonary and the systemic circulations. Now you have these structures that prevent the backflow of blood from one space to another. So in the heart, this is the atrioventricular valves and the semilunar valves. The atrioventricular valves or AV valves from the name itself, atrio or atrium and ventricular or sa ventricle. So these valves are the gates in between the atria and the ventricles. Particularly in the left side of the heart, you have the AV valve, which gates blood between the left atrium and the left ventricle. The left AV valve is also called as the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. The right AV valve naman gates your right atrium and your right ventricle. The right AV valve is also called as your tricuspid valve. You also have valves that gate your ventricles with your great arteries. So the valve in between your right ventricle and your pulmonary artery is your pulmonary semilunar valve, whereas the valve that gates your left ventricle with your aorta is your aortic semilunar valve. So the AV valves, comparing the structures of the AV valves and the semilunar valves, the AV valves have anchored the cusps in place by chordate tendineae in the walls of the ventricle, and they open during heart relaxation when blood passively fills the chamber, and they are closed during ventricular contraction. The semilunar valves, in the other hand, they are closed during heart relaxation and they are open during ventricular contraction. And the opening and the closing of these valves are not controlled by neural impulses, but they are controlled by the changes in the pressure in between the chambers and the great vessels or the great arteries. So this diagram shows you how the heart valves operate. Step 1, blood enters the left and right atria. In here, the pressure inside the atria are negative or very low because they need to suck in the blood from the outside of the heart. So in here, because of the negative pressure, the AV valves are forced to open. Hence, the blood will be directed to the ventricles. As the ventricles fill, the AV valve cusps hang limply into the ventricles. Then, As the atria contract, they force the additional blood into the ventricles. Afterwards, after some time, the ventricles become full and they start to contract. As they contract, there is an increase or there is a shooting of blood pressure in the ventricles in both left and right ventricles. So with the increase in pressure, this shuts the AV valves close. So ang pang-close mo ng AV valves is the increase in pressure in the ventricles. So then the AV valves close. Then the chordae tendineae tighten, preventing the valve cusps from everting into atria. For the semilunar valves, with the increase in the pressure in the ventricles, this forces the blood out to the aorta and pulmonary trunk. So with that, this allows the opening of the pulmonary and aortic valves so that makalusot ang blood from the ventricles to the aorta and pulmonary artery. But as the ventricles relax, pag-relax the ventricles, this will decrease the pressure. But with the decrease in the pressure, this will suck in the blood from the arteries. But the semilun the semilunar valves shut close because of the movement of the blood inside the aorta and the pulmonary arteries. Now, for the cardiac circulation, this is how the blood supplies the heart itself. Kasi yung heart mo is made up of muscles, and muscles still need oxygen and nutrients. So these structures allow the delivery of blood to the heart muscles. So you have the coronary arteries, which branch out from the aorta to supply the heart muscle with oxygenated blood. The cardiac veins drain the myocardium of the blood to deliver or to get the oxygen poor blood back to the heart. Then the coronary sinus is a large vein on the posterior of the heart that receives blood from the cardiac veins. Blood then empties into the right atrium via the coronary sinus. So this is the heart with the apparently the coronary blood vessels. So you have here in red are the arteries. You have the left coronary artery and the right coronary artery. You also have the anterior or the circumflex artery. Then for the veins, you have the great cardiac veins and the small cardiac vein. You also have the anterior cardiac vein and the posterior cardiac vein, and these veins will be drained to the coronary sinus posterior to the heart, which will then deliver back the unoxygenated blood to the right atrium. So in order for the heart to beat constantly, it doesn't have to be stimulated by the brain. There are specialized structures which are specific cardiac muscles that spontaneously contract. So this system is called the conduction system of the heart. Particularly, the atrial cells beat at 60 times per minute. The ventricles beat at a slower pace on its own at 20 to 40 beats per minute. However, because of the conduction system, there is a unifying control system for the heart. So whatever is the rate of the atria, it the rest of the heart follows suit. And there are two systems that regulate the heart activity. The first is the intrinsic conduction system that I have just described to you, and the other is the autonomic nervous system that is delivered or comes um, from the central nervous system. So as you know, the autonomic nervous system is composed of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate and conduction or conductivity of the heart, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system decreases the rate and contractility of the heart. So I've been mentioning that the intrinsic conduction system is composed of specialized structures that initiates the contraction of the heart. So what are these components? First is the sinoatrial node or the SA node, which is located in the right atrium, and this sets as the heart's pacemaker. Compared to the rest of the conduction system, this has the fastest um, rate of impulse per minute. So the other components are the atrioventricular node or the AV node, which is located in the or at the junction of the atria and ventricles, and the AV bundle or the bundle of His, and the bundle branches, which are spread throughout the or inside the interventricular septum. And then you have the Purkinje fibers, which are branched at the ventricular wall muscles. So this is what the intrinsic conduction system of the heart looks like. You have here at the atrium the sinoatrial node or the SA node, which is the pacemaker. So this pacemaker sends impulses to the rest of the heart at a regular rate at around or on average at 75 beats per minute. So these impulses will reach the AV node or the atrioventricular node to stimulate the adjacent muscles. Then these impulses will be delivered to the AV bundle or the bundle of His, then to the bundle branches inside the interventricular septum, then to the Purkinje fibers inside the ventricular wall muscles. Okay, so our sinoatrial node, as mentioned, it is the fastest among the other um, components of the conduction system. So eh, as this sends impulses, those impulses will be scattered throughout the rest of the atrium or the right atrium. Then mag-spread yung impulses away from the SA node. Then those impulses will reach the AV node. Pag reach sa AV node, ma-stimulate din siya. Then it will have to pass the impulse through the AV bundle. And um, as these impulses, habang gumagapang sila dito sa AV bundle, the impulses sent or created by the AV node will also be delivered to the adjacent muscles. So, balik tayo dito sa SA node. Pag create na impulses dito sa SA node, yung muscles around this area will also then contract kasi naka-receive sila ng impulses. Tapos, yung ibang impulse they will reach the AV node. This AV node, as it passed the impulses to the AV bundle, the muscles adjacent to the AV node will also then contract. Then, from the AV bundle um, to the bundle branches, the interventricular septum will then contract. Then, last na ang ventricular wall muscle to contract because saka pa lang dumating yung impulses sa Purkinje fibers. So the first to contract, as you can notice, the first to contract are the atria, then the ventricles. So this can be related to how blood is delivered through these chambers. As the atria contract, blood is pushed from the atria to the ventricles. Then, as the ventricles contract, blood or the AV valves will close, pressure inside the ventricles build up, then blood is pushed to the pulmonary artery and the aorta. So that is how the conduction system work. So these are ano, a couple of texts lang to support what I have just discussed. The conduction system of the heart is important to understand because you have disorders that are related to how the conduction system work. Arrhythmia pertains to a disorder of the heart's rate or rhythm. Meaning ng rate is how fast or how frequent the heart contracts per minute. So at around 75 beats per minute is the average. There are the heart beats at 75 times in every minute. If there is a decrease in the rate, that is called bradycardia at less than 60 beats per minute. If the heart rate is above 100 beats per minute, that is tachycardia. Okay. As stated here, arrhythmia is the disorder of the heart's rate or rhythm. Tachycardia and bradycardia tells you about the rate of the heart. The rhythm pertains to how or the or how or the spaces though in between those beats. So for example, kung gaano kalapit ang one beat to another heartbeat, dapat the same lang yung time it would take to the next heartbeat. Okay? Meaning regular rhythm is the time in between those heartbeats is the same. Kasi if there are irregularities in those times, in between those beats, that is considered an irregular rhythm. Okay. The If there are problems in the rate or rhythm, or arrhythmia, the best way to measure them is through an electrocardiogram, which are shown here sa diagram sa right. Okay, the cardiac cycle naman refers to one complete heartbeat in which both atria and ventricles contract then relax. When we say in general lang, when we say contraction, that pertains to systole. Relaxation pertains to diastole. So you have atrial systole or contraction. You also have atrial diastole or relaxation. However, the atria and the ventricles do not relax and contract at the same time. So you also have ventricular systole or contraction and ventricular diastole or relaxation. The average heart rate is approximately 75 beats per minute, where a normal heart rate is at 60 to 100. So anything below 60 is bradycardia, anything above 100 is tachycardia. The card the regular or the usual cardiac cycle length is at 0.8 seconds. So this text describes what happens in each of the diastole and systole of the chambers. In atrial diastole or ventricular filling, because the atria is relaxed, it is being filled with blood. So inside this during this time, the pressure inside the chamber is decreased. Okay? Basta humihigop, the pressure is negative. Basta napupush ang blood, the pressure is positive. In atrial systole, the atria is contracting. However, the ventricles remain in diastole. Kasi pag push ng blood from the atria to the ventricles should also be relaxed in order to receive the blood from the atria. At the same time, the AV valves are open. In isovolumetric contraction, there is this is the time when the ventricles start to contract. However, the because of the pressures that starts to build up inside the ventricles, the this forces the AV valves to shut close. And during this time, no blood has enters or exits the ventricles. Kaya ang tawag is isovolumetric kasi the same na yung, at this very short time, the same na yung volume inside the ventricles. As the ventricles continue to contract, the pressure inside the ventricles goes high enough to open the semilunar valves para makalabas naman yung blood outside the ventricles and towards the pulmonary artery and the aorta. And then during isovolumetric relaxation, the ventricles start to relax, pulling the gates at or the semilunar valves to close. And because naka-close pa si AV valves, there will be no blood entering or exiting the ventricles. Kaya ang tawag is isovolumetric relaxation. Now, for the heart sounds, these are the sounds that we feel if we place our hand sa uh, if we auscultate using a stethoscope sa heart. The heartbeat can be described as a lub and dub. Lub is the first heartbeat, tapos may dub siya na kasunod. Di ba yung sinasabi na lub-dub, 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 lub-dub. So the lub is the sound that we hear as the AV valves close. Kasi yun yung time na si ventricle nag-push siya ng blood para ma-close si AV valve. Si dub is the sound that we hear as the semilunar valves close during the isovolumetric relaxation naman. So this diagram shows you what I have just discussed. To summarize, during atrial diastole, the atria are relaxed as well as the ventricles. So with this, there is filling of blood in the atrium and the ventricles. Pagpasok ng blood sa atria, diretso siya sa ventricles. And the pressure inside are negative or is negative. In atrial systole, the atria starts to contract. Kasi ito yun din yung first, this is also the time that the intrinsic conduction system, particularly at the SA node, starts to sell an impulse that will contract the atria. So pag contract ni atria, this pushes the rest of the blood to the ventricles. Pero si ventricles, hindi pa dumating dito sa ventricles yung impulse na galing sa SA node. Kasi magta-travel pa 'di ba yung impulses from the SA node. Hindi pa umabot sa ventricles. So si ventricles naka-relax pa siya. So this is atrial systole. Si atria pa lang yung naka-contract. And with this, to facilitate the passage of blood from the atria to the ventricles, the AV valves are open. Okay? Pagdating naman ng impulse sa ventricles, the ventricles will then start to contract. And the pressure inside, kasi may nagpupush na, nagko-contract na si ventricles, na nag-i-increase na yung pressure inside the ventricles. With this forces the AV nodes, the AV valves to close, pero the pressure is not enough to open the semilunar valve. This is isovolumetric contraction kasi there is no blood entering or exiting the ventricles. Next step, ventricular systole. As the ventricles continue to contract, the pressure inside reaches to a point na mag-o-open na si semilunar valves to allow the passage of blood from the ventricles to the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Now, after quite some time, start na mag-relax si ventricles. With the negative pressure or with the dipping down of the blood pressure inside these chambers, this will pull the semilunar valves to be closed again para it will not go back to the ventricles. At the same time, hindi pa enough yung pressure inside the atria to force the blood to enter the ventricles. Hence, this is isovolumetric relaxation. Now, since the heart is also a muscle, we will also discuss the action potential of cardiac myocytes. In the action potential of the cardiac myocytes, the sodium and the potassium ions are involved, similar to the skeletal muscles, with the added involvement of the calcium ions. Okay. With the Same with the action potential in the skeletal muscles. Let's start with the resting phase, which is phase 4 in the cardiac myocytes. In phase 4 or the resting phase, there is constant outward leaking of potassium ions through the inward rectifier channels, leading to the resting potential at negative 90 millivolts. The sodium and calcium channels are closed at this phase. Then stimulus from the neighboring cardiac myocytes will lead to the action potential of the other cardiac myocytes from the resting phase to then the depolarization, which is phase 0. And at this state, the first the first ion channels to open are the sodium ion channels, or particularly the fast sodium ion channels. This will then increase the or result to the influx or entering of sodium ions, which will bring the transmembrane potential to negative 70 millivolts from negative 90. So, tumaas. With this, the large sodium ion channels will also open to allow the entry of more sodium ions. At negative 40, the calcium ion channels will then start to open to allow the entry of calcium ions. The first to open are the L-type or the long opening calcium ion channels. Then at negative 40, aakyat yan siya to 0. In here, the fast sodium ion channels will then close. The transmembrane potential will peak to a very positive uh, voltage, which will then lead to the early repolarization. At on or during phase 1, the potassium ion channels will then start to open briefly, leading to the exit or the efflux of potassium ions from the inside of the muscle cell. This will then lead to the decrease of the transmembrane potential to 0 millivolts. Then, the myocyte will enter a plateau phase because with the exit of the potassium ions, the calcium ions will compete because there is still the influx of calcium ions. So yung decrease of the voltage because of the potassium efflux is compensated by the entry of calcium ions. So the resulting voltage is um, will become steady wherein it will neither increase or decrease. Kaya ang tawag is the plateau phase. Then after a while, the calcium ion channels will then start to gradually close or inactivate, leading to the leading to no calcium ions entering the cells. And because the potassium ion channels are still open, this will lead to more potassium ions exiting the myocyte. Hence, the decrease of the transmembrane potential to the resting potential of negative 90 millivolts. Now, to restore the ion gradient between the outside and the inside in regards to the sodium, potassium, and calcium, you have the following ion channels activated by ATP to restore that gradient. You have the sodium calcium exchanger, the calcium ATPase, and the sodium potassium ATPase. This diagram shows or summarizes the events surrounding each of the phases of the action potential in cardiac muscles. You have the phase 4 or the resting state wherein sodium and calcium channels are closed and the transmembrane potential is at negative 90. Now then at phase 0 or depolarization, there is a there is opening of the sodium ion channels and calcium ion channels, hence the burst of um, burst of increase in membrane potential up to the peak. After the peak, the phase 1 will then ensue wherein potassium ion channels will open to partially decrease the transmembrane potential. Pero with the ion channels still opening, makompensate na siya leading to the plateau, which is phase 2. Then at phase 3, there is the continuation of the repolarization, wherein the calcium ion channels will then start to close, allowing more potassium ion allowing the allowing more potassium ions to exit the myocyte, hence further decreasing the transmembrane potential. So with the physiology of the heart, we should also discuss the different factors that allow to measure the or predict the efficiency of the heart. So the cardiac output is the amount of blood pumped by each side of the heart in 1 minute. Stroke volume pertains to the volume of blood pumped by each ventricle in one contraction only. And heart rate is the number of beats per minute. So the cardiac output is um, predicted by multiplying the heart rate times the stroke volume. So you can see here the example na. Way for me to memorize this um, equation is ORAS, ORAS. O means output or cardiac output. RA is the rate or RA from the heart rate. Then S is stroke for stroke volume. So ORAS. So para ma-memorize ko yung equation na to. With this equation, we can see it that in order for the heart to pump more blood during a period of time, it may either increase the heart rate or increase the stroke volume. Factors that increases the stroke volume include the contractility of the ventricles, meaning the more the ventricles contract or the more na mas malakas yung pag-contract ng ventricles, the more blood it pumps out of the heart. Another factor is the amount of blood that enters the heart, which is the preload. So, kung daming blood ang pumasok sa heart or mataas yung preload, meaning mas daming blood na na malalabas ang isang beat ng heart. Okay? So, preload is a factor of stroke volume. So, with the stroke volume, ito yung sabi ko, um, venous return is an important factor influencing the stretch of the heart muscles. The more blood that returns to the heart, the more blood that the heart can pump out of itself. Other factors naman for the heart rate, kasi di ba cardiac output is equals to heart rate times stroke volume. For the heart rate naman, the factors include the ANS control, particularly the activation of the sympathetic nervous system or the inactivation of the parasympathetic nervous system. You also have hormones and ions, epinephrine and thyroxine, which increase the heart rate. And you also have the ions, the sodium, potassium, and calcium ions we mentioned a while ago that also has roles in the or has a role in the how the heart contracts. Then you also have physical factors including age, gender, exercise, and body temperature influencing heart rate. So these are so all those factors can be summarized with this diagram here. Just take note of to better understand the diagram. You have a legend here, wherein green arrows means that these factors increases the succeeding factor. So for example, crisis or stressor increases the sympathetic nervous system activity. On the other hand, red arrows naman negates. So a high blood pressure or blood volume decreases the sympathetic nervous system activity. Okay, so that's for the heart. The other structures that are involved naman in the cardiovascular system are the blood vessels. So, next part of our discussion is the blood vessels. The blood vessels are or form a closed vascular system that transports blood from to the tissues and back to the heart. Again, the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart are the arteries. Arterioles are smaller versions of arteries. The vessels that, on the other hand, the vessels that deliver blood towards the heart are the veins. The smaller version of veins are the venules. The vessels naman that are involved in gas exchange or that are so small that gases can diffuse easily are your capillaries. As for all blood vessels, they have they share these three layers. The outermost is the tunica externa, followed by tunica media, then the innermost is the tunica intima. In tunica intima, this is the layer in contact with the blood inside the blood vessel. Tunica media is made up of smooth muscles and elastic tissue, and this can be controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. You can relate relate this to the heart, wherein the middle layer of the heart is also, which is the myocardium, is also the middle layer. And in the middle layer, it is always made up of smooth muscles. So same dito sa blood vessels. The outermost layer naman is the tunica externa, which is the outermost covering. You can see here the differences of in the appearance of the artery and vein under the microscope. You can observe here um, the difference in their diameter, especially in their walls, wherein the arteries have much thicker walls than your veins. This is because the tunica media is thicker in the arteries than in your veins because the arteries has to have a thicker tunica media to accommodate with the very high pressure inside the arteries than in your veins. Remember, the arteries are the blood vessels that delivers blood from the heart. So, because of the very high pressure that the heart creates, the arteries have to also receive the same high pressure made by the or created by the heart. So, to accommodate with that great blood pressure, dapat makapal din yung arteries. So, the arteries have a heavier, stronger, stretchier tunica media than veins to withstand the changes in pressure. The veins have thinner tunica media than arteries and operate under low pressure. The veins also have valves that prevent backflow of blood. Their lumen of veins is larger than that of the arteries, and the skeletal muscle also milks the blood vessel or the blood in veins towards the heart. So this diagram shows you how the skeletal muscles play a role in milking the veins. So these are especially important in your lower extremities. As you can see here, aside from the milking of the skeletal muscles, you also have the valves that uh, that also aid in preventing the backflow of blood in veins. With the skeletal muscles, you can see here how exercise or physical activities aid in the circulation of blood, especially in your lower extremities. And with this when with the contraction of the skeletal muscles, yung blood or fluids within the veins will not congest in this area kasi namimilk siya ng skeletal muscles. Capillaries. The capillaries is a one cell layer thick which allows for exchanges between blood and tissue. The capillary beds are consist of vascular shunts and through capillaries, wherein gas exchange and nutrient diffusion takes place in through capillaries only. Vascular shunts naman are blood vessels wherein diffusion will not take place, and this will just link the arterioles with the venules. The blood flow through a capillary bed is also known as microcirculation. and through capillaries. So you can see here, the terminal arteriole is connected to the venule through a capillary bed. In this capillary bed, you have a system of capillaries wherein blood exchange or gas exchange and nutrient diffusion may take place in true capillaries. Vascular shunts are simply connections between your arterioles and venules without uh, with no diffusion taking place. So with these shunts, the you may have sphincters closing to divert the course of blood flow from the arterial to the venule, so that this will prevent the or this will close the flow of blood to the other parts of the capillary bed. Other blood vessels naman of the body, you have the great vessels of the heart. First is the aorta, which is the largest artery in the blood in the body. This is the artery that receives blood from the left ventricle. So the aorta, as you can see later sa diagram, is further divided into these sections: the ascending aorta, aortic arch, thoracic aorta, and abdominal aorta. So this is the aorta. This the blood inside it comes from your left ventricle. So dito galing sa left ventricle papunta sa aorta. The aorta has the ascending aorta, itong paakyat. Then this arch here is the aortic arch. Then behind the heart is the thoracic aorta. Yung thoracic aorta, magpapas siya behind the heart, then through the diaphragm. As it exits the diaphragm, this will now then become your abdominal aorta. Other pertinent or important vessels to be mind to know about or to know of at least are your common carotid artery, which are the arteries that supply much of the head of the body. Subclavian artery emerges from your aorta to supply the upper extremities. The subclavian artery branches off to become your axillary artery. Then it becomes your brachial artery in the brachial region. Then it becomes the radial and ulnar arteries. Sa aorta naman, or sa abdominal aorta, the abdominal aorta bifurcates to become a pair of common iliac artery. Then the common iliac artery enters the femoral region to become your external iliac artery, the femoral artery. And the femoral artery goes behind the femur to become your popliteal artery. And the popliteal artery becomes your anterior tibial and posterior tibial artery. And at the foot, the anterior tibial artery becomes your dorsalis pedis artery. The great vessels naman of the veins are called your superior and inferior vena cavae. Vena cavae for plural, vena cava for singular. The superior vena cava drains the head and the arms, whereas the inferior vena cava drains the lower body. So, if you have here the heart, this is the superior vena cava. All of the blood that passes here comes from either the head or the upper extremities. For the inferior vena cava, This drains blood that come from the abdomen or through the lower extremities. You can then see here the how the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava drains the rest of the body, drains blood from the rest of the body. You can also find here the hepatic portal vein, which drains blood from the liver to be drained to the inferior vena cava. Other important veins here are your subclavian vein, which drains blood from the rest of the upper extremities. The subclavian vein is being drained by the axillary vein, then by the brachial vein, then by the median cubital vein. And you still have the ulnar and the radial veins. At the inferior vena cava, the inferior vena cava is is a convert is a um is where the two common iliac veins meet. So sa common iliac vein, if as you go down further, you have the external iliac vein, the femoral vein. You also have the great saphenous vein, posterior tibial vein, anterior tibial vein, and small saphenous vein. The great saphenous vein, nice to know na lang din, is a vessel that you can surgically cut to be used as a bypass in your coronary arteries. So yung sinasabi na coronary bypass surgery, ang ginagamit nila na pang bypass is yung great saphenous vein. For in the medical field, also important to understand is the um how blood is being delivered to the brain. You have here the circle of Willis, which is a system of arteries, including your anterior communicating artery, anterior cerebral artery, posterior communicating, posterior cerebral arteries. And um, these arteries supply the rest of the brain. However, for in your level, you don't need to memorize this. It's important to know lang na ang circle of Willis it supplies the brain. Another important circulation is the hepatic portal circulation, which is formed by veins draining the digestive organs, which empty into the hepatic portal vein. So you have blood vessels draining the digestive organs, such as your stomach, your small intestine, large intestines. You also have the spleen and the pancreas, and the drainage of these organs will be emptied to the liver. Kasi lahat ng na-absorb sa organs nito should pass the liver to before being sent to the inferior vena cava. So in here, you have arterial blood supplying the small intestines and the large intestines and the stomach, where nutrients and toxins are being absorbed in the digestive tract. And all of this capillaries will be drained to the liver or will be drained to the hepatic portal vein, which will deliver the blood to the liver, where these nutrients and toxins will be metabolized before reaching the hepatic vein and the inferior vena cava. So this shows you the system of blood vessels or system of veins that drain the different digestive organs. Now, it's important to know the vital signs, which include the arterial pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and body temperature. The vital signs are our means in the clinical field to assess the patient. So one of the vital signs that we measure are blood pressure and arterial pulse. As for the arterial pulse, this is the alternate expansion and recoil of a blood vessel wall that occurs as the heart beats. So this can be measured at different pressure points in the body, wherein we can easily palpate the arteries sa sa body. Um, so the different pressure points um, can be located in different parts of the body. So these are the different pressure points. In the head, you have the superficial temporal artery, you also have the facial artery. Common pressure point that are being measured or assessed, especially sa emergency cases, are the common carotid artery. You also have the brachial artery, the radial artery dito, femoral artery, popliteal artery, posterior tibial artery, and the dorsalis pedis artery. In blood pressure naman, we are measuring the pressure that the blood exerts against the inner walls of the blood vessel. In order to deliver the blood to the rest of the body, the cardiovascular system also have to maintain this blood pressure gradient. When there is a positive pressure, you are pushing the blood away. When there is negative pressure naman, you are sucking in the blood. So the point of the cardiovascular system where there is greatest blood pressure is the left ventricle because dito nagko-contract yung heart to push away the blood to the rest of the body. The aorta, then subsequently the arteries also have a high blood pressure because they receive the pressure from the ventricles. Conversely, the point of the cardiovascular system with the lowest naman na blood pressure um is the right atrium because this is the blood that receives this is the part of the cardiovascular system that receives or has to drain all of the blood from the rest of the body. So you can see here the blood pressure gradient amongst the structures of the cardiovascular system. Again, the greatest is at the left ventricle, followed by the aorta, arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, veins, then vena cava. So that blood will go back all to the vena cava. And one way for us to assess whether the cardiovascular system and subsequent and more so the rest of the body works normally is by measuring the blood pressure. Our immediate way to assess the blood pressure is through the measuring the arterial blood pressure. There are two arterial blood pressures that are being measured, which are the systolic and the diastolic blood pressure. Systolic is the pressure in the arteries at the peak of the ventricular contraction. Diastolic is the pressure when the ventricles relax. This is expressed as systolic pressure over diastolic pressure in millimeters of mercury. For example, 120 over 80. Our fastest way to measure the blood pressure, especially on field, is through the auscultatory measure using the sphygmomanometer and the stethoscope. Most often, what we use is the brachial artery kasi um, it is um, It is the pressure point that is most accessible. So here are some steps for that will guide you to um, how to measure the blood pressure, but we will also discuss this face to face na din. So you may read ahead, read these ahead of time. And let's discuss what are the factors that influence the blood pressure. The blood pressure is directly related to the cardiac output and peripheral resistance. Cardiac output, as we mentioned before, or in the earlier slides, is the amount of blood pumped out of the left ventricle per minute. So, all of the factors surrounding the cardiac output, which includes the heart rate and the stroke volume, also affects the blood pressure. Aside from cardiac output, you also have peripheral resistance, which is the amount of friction the blood encounters as it flows through the vessel. So my mnemonic for this is PORE, spelled as PORE. PORE stands for P for pressure or blood pressure, O for cardiac output, RE for resistance. Okay, so that's PORE. The other equation is oras. So since the cardiac output is one of the factors that affect the blood pressure, whatever other factors that influence the cardiac output also subsequently influences the blood pressure. So the next factor now is the total peripheral resistance. The total peripheral resistance um, or yung PR is can be controlled by the autonomic nervous system, particularly by the or most especially by the sympathetic nervous system. Well, by vasoconstricting or narrowing the blood vessels, this will increase the resistance in the peripheral blood vessels. Also, if you vasodilate or if the blood vessels relax, this will decrease the peripheral resistance, leading to the subsequent decrease in blood pressure as well. Also, in the kidneys, if the blood pressure is too high, the kidneys release water in the urine. And if the blood pressure is too low, the kidneys release renin to trigger the formation of angiotensin II, which is a vasoconstrictor. As for temperature, heat has a vasodilating effect, then cold has a vasoconstricting effect. For example, uh, where, when you are exposed to the sun, pwede ka magka-redness yung skin mo. That is because of the blood vessels vasodilating in order to increase the blood flow to the skin. If you are in the cold naman, you may become pale because of the vasoconstriction, which decreases the blood flow to the skin. Another factor is chemicals, wherein various substances can increase or decrease the blood pressure. For example, epinephrine, usually given through injections, can increase the heart rate and blood pressure. Also in diet, low salt, saturated fats, and cholesterol prevents the hypertension. So if you are encountering patients with hypertension or high blood pressure, these are what you can recommend sa diet to decrease the salt intake, decrease the saturated fats and the cholesterol. This diagram summarizes all the factors that we have mentioned that affect the blood pressure. For the blood pressure, the normal blood pressure has a systolic blood pressure of 90 to 130 to 120. So anything below a systolic blood pressure of 90 is considered hypotension. Anything above 120 is already considered hypertension, or 130 is pre-hypertension, 140 is hypertension. For diastole, or for the diastolic pressure, the range is around 60 to 90. So again, hypotension is below 90, SBP of below 90. Hypertension is systolic blood pressure of more of 140. 130 is prehypertensive. The capillary exchange of gases and nutrients, the interstitial fluid is found between cells, and substances move to and from the blood and tissue cells through capillary walls. In here, the exchange is due to the concentration gradients. For example, in oxygen and nutrients leave the blood and move into the tissues. Then the carbon dioxide and other wastes exit the tissue cells and enter the blood. The substances then take various routes entering or leaving the blood through direct diffusion through membranes, diffusion through intracellular clefts, diffusion through pores of fenestrated capillaries, and transport via vesicles. So these are the mechanisms through which certain molecules can go in and out of the capillaries. These two factors influence whether the molecules will exit or enter the capillaries. One is the blood pressure, which forces the molecules or the solutes to go out of the capillaries, and the osmotic pressure, which um, draws the molecules or the fluid into the capillaries. For example, blood pressure is higher than osmotic pressure at the arterial end of the capillary bed, and the blood pressure is lower than osmotic pressure at the venous end of the capillary bed. Hence, fluid moves out of the capillary at the beginning of the bed and is reclaimed at the opposite end. As we go older, there are several changes that can be observed in the cardiovascular system. This includes the following. One is weakening of the venous valves. Hence, for older people who are standing for long periods of time, because the valves are structures that help you to prevent the backflow of blood in the veins. And because older people weaken the venous valves, the tendency of the blood is to go back sa lower extremities where where the blood is being pulled down by gravity. Another change in the older population is the varicose veins. Another is progressive arteriosclerosis, hypertension resulting from loss of elasticity of vessels, and coronary artery diseases resulting from fatty calcified deposits in the vessels. So with that, what are some homeostatic imbalances that we need to know in the cardiovascular system? When we say arteriosclerosis, this is the gradual loss of elasticity in the arteries or hardening of the arteries that may be caused by the buildup of fatty plaques. However, this is not the only reason for the hardening of the arteries. For example, hypertension may also cause arteriosclerosis. Okay. Um, ar- Under arteriosclerosis, a specific type is atherosclerosis, wherein it's because of the fatty buildup in the vessels that make the blood vessel harden. And also, atherosclerosis can lead to clogging because of the fatty buildup. Coronary artery disease or CAD pertains to a type of atherosclerosis that is specific to the coronary arteries because you may also have atherosclerosis in other blood vessels, but if the particular vessels involved is the coronary artery, then it's coronary artery disease. Ischemia pertains to the lack of adequate blood supply to the heart muscle, whereas myocardial infarction or MI or heart attack pertains to the myonecrosis due to the decreased or absent blood flow. So, before it leads to MI, there is there is an ischemia um, ongoing. Kasi kung mag-decrease na yung blood supply or oxygen to the heart muscles, this will result to the death of the heart muscles, which is myonecrosis. So in acute coronary syndrome or ACS, when we say syndrome, this is an array of symptoms that are observed in certain individuals. So under ACS, all the patients experience the symptoms of heart attack, which includes chest pain or difficulty of breathing. However, the differences between these three types is the clinical markers. In unstable angina, there is transient myocardial ischemia leading to diminished flow however, there is also the absence of significant myonecrosis, which is detected by troponin in the blood test. In non-ST segment elevation myocardial infarction or NSTEMI, there is already myonecrosis as detected by troponin in blood test. However, there is absent ST segment elevation sa ECG. Now, for ST segment elevation myocardial infarction or STEMI, there is myonecrosis plus there is ST segment elevation in ECG. So, if the patient experiences heart attack, ito yung dalawang tests that we need to get for these patients. One is troponin sa blood test plus ECG. If if mababa lang yung troponin o plus walang changes sa ECG, the patient has unstable angina. If there is already increase in troponin levels in your blood test plus pero there is still no ST segment elevation, that is NSTEMI. If there is both an increase in troponin level in the blood and elevation in the ST segment, there you now have STEMI. CHF or congestive heart failure is the reduced pump. In CHF, there is reduced pumping efficiency of the heart, that blood circulation is inadequate to meet tissue needs. In myocardial infarction, again, there is cell death. And because of the death of the cardiac muscles, this will result to the inefficiency of the heart to pump blood out to the rest of the body. With that, this results to congestive heart failure. In edema naman, there is accumulation of fluid in the tissues because of the inefficiency of the heart to pump blood and to pull blood through your right side of the heart. The tendency of the fluids is to accumulate in our body tissues. So this is edema. So for example, yung sinasabi na naghupong o namamaga yung paa, because of the accumulation of fluid. That may be because of the inefficiency of the heart to pull to drain the blood from your lower extremities. So there is already a congestive heart failure. Another thing, another also area that can be affected by a congestive heart failure is pulmonary edema, wherein the fluid accumulates in the lungs. In pericarditis, this is inflammation of the pericardium or the serosa surrounding the heart, which results to a decrease in serous fluid production. Because the serous fluid is important in reducing the friction during the upon the move with the movement of the heart. Kung mababa lang yung serous fluid inside the cavity, there will be pain in the chest. In endocarditis, this is an inflammation of the endocardium, including the heart valves. So if the heart valves are involved or there is damage in the heart valves, it can either result to valvular stenosis or valvular regurgitation or incompetence. In valvular stenosis, there is stiffening of the valves, either of the mitral valve, tricuspid valve, of the aortic valve, or the pulmonary valve. In valvular regurgitation, the valves will not close fully. Hence, um, when there is diastole of the ventricles, the tendency is to um, back the tendency for the blood is to backflow to the previous compartment or chamber. So to summarize this chapter, the heart's structure, including the chambers, valves, and vessels, enables efficient one-way blood flow through pulmonary and systemic circuits. The conduction system coordinates rhythmic contraction, producing the cardiac cycle and characteristic heart sounds. And the cardiac physiology, including the action potentials and cardiac output, regulates blood flow based on tissue demands. Blood vessels are structurally adapted for transport, exchange, and pressure regulation. Blood pressure reflects cardiac output and vascular resistance and is essential in clinical assessment. Aging and pathological conditions such as hypertension, atherosclerosis, and heart failure disrupt cardiovascular homeostasis. So that's it for this chapter. Thank you for your attention.